Recording. All right, we're good to go. Let's get started. It's 11 a.m. Everybody's here, and let's begin. I'm going to go on manage participants. Mute everybody just to make sure one more time everybody's muted. Okay. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Welcome to another Qur'an lecture. We took a quick hiatus over the 2 long weekends for Christmas and New Year because there's a lot of family coming over and we had to go. Well, the kids were sick, so we didn't get to go, but we were planning on going to Hershey, Pennsylvania for skiing, so I had to take off the last 2 weeks. But let's get started on today's lecture. Today's lecture is going to be about friends and friendships, so let's get started. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. This lecture was actually suggested to me by Razia Khala last time, and she suggested that I gear this talk more toward children. But the more I researched, the more I thought about this topic, it turned out that this is not just a topic for children. This is a topic both for parents and children. And a reminder both for parents and children. And I'm going to gear it that way. The reason is that what impact friends have, good friends, bad friends, what they do to us, how we choose them, what effects they have, what their characteristics are, etc. This is not just a lesson for children. It's a lesson for adults as well. Because this affects all of us. So I'm going to talk about both in terms of perspective from adults as well as children as to what is a friendship and what are friends. And I'm even going to go into a little bit of what friendship is not. Then I'm going to talk about some of the characteristic of good friends and some of the characteristic of bad friends. And I'm going to talk about what kind of friends and what kind of people we should seek to associate with and we should seek to be with in our lives and why we should do that. And I'm going to talk about basically what are some of the benefits of having good friends and the harms of having bad friends. And finally, I'm going to talk about some ways to make good friends, how to get good company and good people to be around you, and how to drop bad friends and to let them go and not be friends with them anymore. So that's on the agenda today. So let's get started. Okay, friends. What are friends? For all of us, there are 2 sets of people, quote unquote, the people that we associate with and throughout our lives can be generally broken up into 2 broad categories. There are our family, the family that we do not choose. So, for example, these are the people that we do not choose. I don't choose my father. I don't choose my mother. I don't choose who my siblings are. I don't choose who my cousins are, who my aunts and uncles are. These are the people who I am related with, and these are my family. And for all of us, these are people who we associate with throughout our lives, but these are people that we do not choose. In the sense that I'm limited to who my father is, I can't choose who my father is. I'm limited to who my mother is, I can't choose who my mother or my siblings, etc. are. The second set of, so that's the first set of people who we associate with through our lives. But the second set of people who we associate with throughout our lives, and these are the people who we choose to allow in our lives, are our friends. So really, only 2 sets of people that we associate with through our lives are our friends and our family. And friends are the people we choose to allow in our lives. Meaning, converse to the family, in contrast to the family, the people who we are born into, friends are the people we choose to allow in our lives. We choose to bring into our circle. And the friendship is the relationship that we establish with these people. Meaning, this is the relationship that we have with the people who we choose to allow in our lives. Those aren't people we are necessarily related to, but we choose to have good relations with them. We choose to be kind to them. We choose to associate with them, even emulate them. And this relationship that we establish with them is called friendship. And notice that this language is applicable to both adults and children. However, since we choose our friends, we don't choose our family. Because we don't choose our family, we will not be questioned about who our father was or who our mother was. It's not like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on the day of judgment will ask us, hey, why was your father this person, or why was your mother that person, or why was your sibling this or that. You will not be asked about who your family was, because you didn't choose them. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala chose your family for you. You are born into a family, and that's the family you get. However, because friends are the people we choose to associate with, we can and will be held accountable for the friends we pick. Meaning, if we don't pick friends that are good people, and we don't pick friends that are good, and we don't support good people, and we don't surround ourselves with good people, we will be held accountable. We'll be questioned about the friends we choose, the people we pick, because they have a great influence on us. We'll go into the details of that in just a second. In the Qur'an, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Al-Furqan, and remember the day, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is referring to Yawm al-Qiyamah, when the unjust one shall bite his hand, saying, oh, would that I had taken away with the messengers. Woe is me, would that I had not taken such a one for a friend. Certainly he led me astray from the reminder after it had come to me. Notice that in this verse, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is describing the people who chose to not associate themselves with good people, who chose to associate themselves with friends who turned them away from the reminder of Judgment Day, who turned them away from the reminder of the prophets, of the deen, and basically led them astray. Meaning that in this verse, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is reminding us that the people we associate with, the people we choose, the friends we choose, they can lead us astray. Meaning many of the people who come on Yawm al-Qiyamah biting their hands out of misery, out of loss that they've experienced because they chose to associate with bad friends. They will remark that they will be shamed, they will regret the fact that they chose bad friends. So let us be careful in the friends we choose, because if we choose poorly, our friends, one of the greatest evils that can befall us, one of the greatest harms that can befall us as a result of choosing bad friends, is that they may lead us away from the reminder of Allah and the deen of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. In another verse in the Qur'an, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, friends on that day will be as enemies to one another except al-Muttaqoon. Meaning that on the day of judgment, the people who were together or who were friends as a result of the fear of Allah, or who were good friends to each other, who reminded each other of the day of judgment and who reminded each other of Allah, who were mindful of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they will be friends on Yawm al-Qiyamah. Meaning, you think your friendships last throughout your lifetime, right? But after you die, it's over? Well, for the Muttaqoon, for the people who fear Allah, for the people who are mindful of the day of judgment, their friendships don't just last in this life. Their friendships will last forever. Their friendships will last through the final day. They will be al-Muttaqoon. Except for those people who weren't Muttaqoon, who did not remind each other of Allah, who did not remind each other of Yawm al-Qiyamah, they will come toward each other as if they were enemies. They will hate each other. Just like we were talking about in the previous verse. People who don't remind each other of the Yawm al-Qiyamah, people who turn away from the remembrance of Allah, will come on the day of judgment as if they were enemies to one another. So that is one major downfall, one major harm of choosing bad friends. Is A, they can be neglectful and make you forget the reminder of Yawm al-Qiyamah, and B, they will be coming towards you as your enemies when you are raised on Yawm al-Qiyamah. Friends are those people that we associate with by choice. And since we associate with these people by choice, they are the single greatest factor in multiple facets of our personal development. Now, we just talked about one facet of our personal development, which was our spiritual development, right? We talked about them reminding us of the day of judgment, etc. But for a lot of people, and I hope that's not the case for my listeners, but for a lot of people that doesn't make, like, okay, that honestly, they also have impact. The people you choose to associate with have a tremendous impact, are the greatest factor in your own personal, physical, emotional, psychological, and even financial development. Meaning, if you want to become a better person, if you want to become a healthier person, if you want to become a more sane person, a more centered person, a more emotionally stable person, a psychologically stable individual, and if you want to become wealthy, if you want to become rich, your friends are one of the greatest factors in your personal, physical, emotional, and financial development. These are the people we choose to associate by choice, and they are one of the greatest single factors in our personal development. In a hadith that is narrated by Imam Bukhari and Imam Muslim, the Prophet ﷺ said, the example of a good companion or friend and a bad companion or friend is like that of a seller of musk and the one who blows the blacksmith's bellows. So as for the seller of musk, then either he will grant you some, or you buy some from him, or at least you can enjoy a pleasant smell from him. As for the one who blows the blacksmith's bellows, then either he can burn your clothes, or you will get an offensive smell from him. This is narrated by Imam Bukhari and Imam Muslim. Now, what does this mean? For most of us, you don't know what a blacksmith's bellow is. But if you've seen it on TV, if you've seen it on National Geographic and other channels, back in the day, when a blacksmith used to have to melt steel, what he would have to do is he would have to blow smoke, blow air into the burning embers, the fire, in order to make it burn red hot. And basically, anybody working in that shop would have to breathe the fire, the smoke, etc., burning from the bellows of the blacksmith. Now, if you're anywhere near the blacksmith, you are at least getting the smell of it. But if you're working with the blacksmith, you will have to not only smell it, but the soot and the ashes will get on you and your clothes. You will become dirty. And in this example, our Prophet ﷺ says, is the example of a good person, of a good friend, is like the seller of good fragrances. It's funny, the other day I was traveling on the train, and the train, there was a seller of musk. He was literally selling good fragrances. And he came by and sat next to me. He was sitting right there. Now, I didn't buy anything from him, but just sitting next to him was so nice. Why? Because he had this tray full of really, really nice smelling perfumes and colognes. And he wasn't selling anything to me. I wasn't buying anything from him, but just sitting next to him was such a pleasant experience. It's the same thing in the friends that we choose. If we choose bad companions to be around, one of two things are likely to happen. Either their bad habits will rub off on us. That means we will start to follow their example, or we might get into the same trouble that they get into, or if not, by being associated with them, we will at least have to bear some burden or some brunt of their bad behavior. And that's near impossible if you associate with bad people to avoid. And it's the same goes for good people. If you choose good companions to be around, choose good friends to be around, then one of two things is likely to happen. Either you will emulate them and therefore get the benefit of having a good friend, or if not, at the very least, their good deeds will have a good impact on you. People will say, you know what, this person associates with a good person. He's friends with such and such a person. He should be a good person as well. So choose your companions wisely, because if they have bad personal habits, for example, if they have bad hygiene, if they have bad physical habits, For example, they don't work out, they don't take care of themselves, they don't take care of their bodies. If they have bad emotional and psychological habits, they're negative thinkers. If they have bad financial habits, for example, they take a lot of debt, they spend extravagantly, then all these bad influences will rub off on you. You can't help it. I was talking to one of my friends the other day. He works in Health and Human Services in New Jersey. And he was telling me about this two Muslim girls whose parents are from Egypt. The two Muslim girls were born here, but their parents were from Egypt. Their parents were very, very religious. They're good people, really good people. But these two daughters of theirs got into trouble because they were going to school and the friends that they chose to associate with were not good people. The friends that they had were having premarital sex, they were doing drugs, and they were getting in trouble. Now, what ended up happening with these two Egyptian girls? They rubbed off, the bad friends rubbed off on these two good girls. These girls didn't rub off on their friends rubbed off on them. So these two girls got addicted to drugs and they got pregnant outside of wedlock. And my Muslim friend, he's actually a revert. He said that he had to remove their children from their houses, forcibly remove their children from the houses of these two unwed mothers because they were drug addicts. Now, can you imagine if you start to associate with bad friends? It doesn't matter what your parents are like. Why? Because these people are probably the single greatest factor in your personal, physical, emotional, psychological development. If you choose to associate with bad people who have bad habits, and if you choose to associate with good people who have good habits, their habits will rub off on you. You can't help it. So make sure you choose your friends wisely. Now, a quick note of what I don't consider, or what we shouldn't consider to be our quote-unquote friends, because in the nomenclature in our normal everyday language, especially in America, a lot of people we consider our friends, right? But aren't necessarily friends. So for example, people that we associate with, but don't necessarily know well, aren't quote-unquote friends in our definition or in the Islamic definition. For example, we associate with our neighbors, we associate with our colleagues, we associate with our schoolmates, yes. But they aren't necessarily our friends. Friends are those people, remember this definition, friends are those people who we choose to actively seek the company of, who we choose to actively want to be around, and who we choose to actively want to emulate and be like. Those are the people who are our friends. Now, why do you think I make this distinction? Why do you think I make this distinction? Is because many of my listeners, or most of my listeners actually, are living in a non-Muslim society. Now, you can't, let's assume for argument's sake, we cut off all relations with non-Muslims and all our relations with bad people and neighbors, colleagues, and schoolmates, it would be impossible to live our lives. But another big reason that I'm making this distinction is that without some form of association to our neighbors, colleagues, and schoolmates, we cannot give them da'wah. How can you call someone else to Islam if you don't even know them? Yes, it is a responsibility for a Muslim to call others to Islam, but remember this definition. Friends are those people who we actively choose to seek the company of, who we actively choose to be around, and who we actively choose to emulate, to want to be like. Those are our friends. Remember this definition. And the reason we need to make this distinction is that if we don't make this distinction, it will be impossible for us to give da'wah to the people who are astray around us. There are plenty of people who are astray around us, who have lost their way. So keep this distinction in mind. Not all people you know are your friends. The people who you want to be like are considered your friends. Okay, moving on. What are some of the characteristics of good friends? Good friends are truthful and trustworthy people. Some of these characteristics go without saying. They aren't necessarily, rocket science. It's very simple. But remember, a reminder benefits the believer. They are truthful and trustworthy people. When they make a promise, they keep it. They do not break their promises. Friends are the people who love one another and respect one another. These are the people who exchange mature and good ideas and do not engage in vain and idle talk. And this is a biggie, they stop each other from doing bad things. They actively try to correct one another when they are going astray. Meaning, if somebody sees you doing something, if somebody you know sees you doing something bad and wants you to stop and tells you, you know what, you shouldn't be doing this, or asks you not to do that, they are your true friend. You may not like it. It may burn you at first. Who do you think you are? But remember, that person truly loves you because he does not want to harm you. If he sees you smoking and tells you to stop smoking, if he sees you doing something else bad and tells you to stop doing that, it may cause you to be a little upset with them, angry with them at first. But remember, that is a true friend. That person is a keeper. They're trying to keep you away from bad things. They are your real friend. Another characteristic of a good friend is that they support one another in time of need. They're there for each other when they need each other. And finally, they encourage their friends to adopt good habits, and they discourage their friends to adopt bad habits. Now, I want parents and children to do this exercise. I want you to think of 3-4 people who you are closely associate with, who you consider your friends, who you think are your real friends, and see if they possess these good characteristics. The reason I say this to both parents and children is because last time it was like, can you talk to children about friendship? And when I started to do this research, I realized this isn't just a lecture for children. This is a lecture for children and adults. So adults and children, think of the people who are your good friends, who you consider to be good friends. Do they possess these qualities? Are they truthful? Are they mature? Do they respect you? Do they avoid bad habits? Do they encourage good habits? Do they support you? Do they stop you from doing bad things? And do they possess any of these bad characteristics? Number 1, the bad characteristics of good friends. I'm sorry. The characteristics of bad friends, my apologies. These are some of the characteristics of bad friends. What are they? Number 1, you will find them to be careless and callous towards their own families. They'll say things like, oh, I hate my mother. Oh, I hate my father. God, my mom is so annoying. You will find them careless and callous towards the people who are most loving toward them. Do you really think a person who hates their mother or has a bad relationship with their father can be a good friend to you? Imagine this person does not have respect for the people who deserve respect the most. You really think he's going to be a good friend to you? He has no good relations with his mother. You think he's going to be good to you? Another telltale characteristic, another telltale sign of a bad friend is that they backbite. Adults and children alike. Listen to this one. If you talk to your friends and they're constantly complaining to you behind other people's back about their bad habits, about something bad they do, about something bad other people do. Oh, such and such a person is so bad. Such and such a person is so awful. They're talking about other people behind their back. They're talking about other people's mistakes behind their back. They're talking about other people's faults behind their back. They're backbiting. Do you really think that they don't do it to you when you're not around? It is impossible to think that they don't do it to you. Of course they do. They're backbiting other people to you, and they backbite you to other people. Trust me, it's true. And sorry, ladies, when next time you get on your phone, next time you think to call up your friend and you start talking amongst yourself and you start complaining to each other about this person or that person, you engage in backbiting. Do you really think that person doesn't backbite you when you're not around? It's foolish to think that they don't. Another characteristic of bad friends is that they engage in vain and idle talk, unnecessary. Remember the characteristic of good friends, right? They exchange good and mature ideas. Bad friends engage in vain and idle talk, unnecessary talk. Another characteristic of bad friends is that they expect support from you. They expect you to help them, but when they turn around, they do not provide it. When you need it, they don't provide it. Who's drawing on my board? Please stop it. I'm gonna have to figure this part out. I don't know who's doing that. Somebody's drawing on my board, but I'll have to revoke control in just a second. They encourage bad habits and they discourage good habits. These are the characteristics of bad friends. Next time you are with your friends, notice what they're doing amongst themselves. Do they smoke? Do they backbite? Do they engage in idle talk? Are they surfing aimlessly on the internet for hours? Are they not doing their homework? Are they idly watching TV constantly all the time? And are they encouraging you to do these things? Do they expect you to do these things if you want to be their friends? Notice and listen for these characteristics in your friends. If they encourage bad habits and discourage good habits, it's a characteristic of a bad friend. Time to drop them. Now, what are some of the benefits of having good friends? Number one, personal, emotional, psychological welfare. Your happiness depends on having good friends and good people around you. If they are negative people, if they hate themselves, they hate their world, they hate their lives, they're constantly negative, they're talking negative, they are negative, they're going to crush your positivity as well. They're going to suck out your happiness and they will make you miserable. But a good friend will keep you positive and will keep you happy. Your personal happiness depends on having good friends. Number two, Your health depends on it. Bad friends have bad habits. They overeat. They don't exercise. They smoke. They drink. They do drugs. They do this. They do that. They have bad health habits, and they expect you to adopt these bad habits as well. Meaning, if you associate with people who have bad health habits, you are likely to have those same bad health habits. You are likely to lose your health. But if you have good friends who work out, who eat well, who take care of themselves, if you are around those people, you are also likely to be healthy. Number 3, another benefit of having good friends, and this is a big one for the youngsters and perhaps even the adults. It is a foregone conclusion among social scientists and behavioral economists that one of the greatest factors in how much wealth you have, how much money you have, is the people around you. If you associate with people who have good habits with their money, you are going to have good money habits. If you associate with people who have bad money habits, you are going to have bad money habits. If you associate with people who overspend and undersave and borrow and are extravagant, you are going to be a poor person. If you associate with good people who have good spending habits, who don't overspend, who save, you are going to be a financially independent, wealthy person. This is a foregone conclusion. It's over. The science has come in on it. The people you associate with have a positive impact on your wealth, on how much money you have. So if none of the other, things inspire you, perhaps happiness, health, or even iman doesn't inspire you, let this inspire you. Your personal wealth, how much money you possess, depends on the people you associate with. And number 3, and we've been talking about this from the start of this lecture, your iman depends on it. Your faith, your belief in God, your hereafter, whether you go to heaven or hell, depends on having good friends. If you have good friends, you're likely to be a person of faith. You're likely to be a person of character. You're likely to be a good person. You're likely to be in heaven with these people. This hadith is narrated by Imam Bukhari and Imam Muslim in their Sahihain. The Prophet ﷺ said, mix with the noble people and you become one of them. And keep away from the evil people to protect yourself from their evils. Meaning, make sure you add to your company good people, make sure you add good friends, and make sure you keep away and drop bad friends. Make sure you don't remain in their company. Okay, what are some guidelines to selecting your friends? Where do you find these people? Okay, number 1, attend the masjid and other places where good people are present, and avoid places where bad people are present, such as bars, hookah lounges, clubs, etc. May I go one step further? Avoid the mall as much as possible. That's not a place to hang out. Attend the masjid, other places where good people are present, and avoid places where bad people are present. It's not rocket science. This is simple thinking. Go associate with people who are learned in a university. You will become learned. Go associate with people who are knowledgeable, who gather in the masjid to learn the deen. You will become knowledgeable. But if you go associate with people who are in bars, hookah lounges, and clubs, you will become like them. Now, number 2, another guide to selecting your friend: try to give advice to your existing friends. meaning no one is perfect. You might currently be in the company of people who have bad habits. Now remember, your job is to become a good friend to them, right? What was the characteristic of a good friend? The characteristic of a good friend is to advise their friends about dropping their bad habits. You want to try to change your friends for the better. You want to be a good friend to them. And as much as possible, advise them so that perhaps they will change their ways. But if they don't, you are obligated to no longer be friends with them. You can no longer associate yourself with them. Why not? Because they didn't take your advice. They didn't drop their bad habits. If you continue to associate with them, I can guarantee you, you will pick up their bad habits. You will pick up what they do. Another quick guideline for selecting good friends is that keep away from friendships with the opposite gender. There is no such thing. We talked about this in detail in a previous lecture when we talked about modesty in Islam. Just to give you a quick overview of this. Don't make friends with the opposite gender. There is no such thing. Find people who have similar interests with you, similar aspirations as you, but also look for friends who have higher goals. Meaning, if you want to go to college, seek people who want to go to college, but also seek people who want to become PhDs. We want to set higher goals and higher aspirations. You want to be around people and select people that you can admire, who you can aspire to be like. And if you surround yourself with these people, if you associate yourself with these people, your personal development will go along with them. But if you choose to be around people who are negative, who have no goals, who have no aspirations to be better in their deen, who have no goals to be better in their lives, then you're going to want to be like them. In Surah Al-Ma'idah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commands us such. It is a commandment. And cooperate in righteousness and piety. Meaning, help each other in cooperation in righteousness and good deeds, pious deeds. And do not cooperate in sin and aggression. Do not cooperate with each other. Do not help each other in bad deeds. Make sure that the people you associate with, they're helping you and you are helping them in good deeds and pious deeds and piety. And this is not just limited to religious deeds. Obviously, that includes that, meaning you want to be around people who pray. You want to be around people who fast. You want to be around people who give zakat. Yes. But good also includes, for example, social good. People who give their time, who volunteer, who do good for others. If you want to be around them, that's a good thing. Those are the people you should try to be around because they are doing good. So you want to cooperate with them in good deeds, in righteous deeds. And do not cooperate and do not be around people who are sinning and aggressing against Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This narration is in Sunan Abi Dawud and Class Sahih by Imam al-Nawawi and Shaykh Albani. Abu Hurairah radiyallahu ta'ala anha reported that the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, a man is upon the religion of his best friend. So let one of you look at whom he befriends. Meaning, now this is a very dangerous hadith. Look at your closest, most personal, and your best friend. You are going to follow their deen. You are going to follow their religion. You're going to follow their example. So look at them. This is an exercise for all of you, for adults and children. Look at the person who you are closest to, who is your closest friend. Okay, in conclusion, today we talked about friendship and friends. What is friendship and what are friends? What friends to choose and what friends to avoid? What are the characteristics of good friends and what are the characteristics of bad friends, etc. So for next week's topic, I was thinking I was going to do, actually, you know what? I'm going to open up the floor for suggestions. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك واشهد ان لا اله الا انت استغفرك واتوب اليك. I'm going to open up for questions. Let me go ahead and unmute everybody. Give me 1 second here. Okay, now I'm going to unmute everybody, and whoever wants to go on mute can mute themselves. And if you have any questions, comments, concerns, suggestions, go ahead. Now is the time. Any suggestions for next week's topic? Nothing? Okay. I'm going to give it 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, everyone. Jazakallah khair for coming today. Inshallah, I will decide next week's topic personally. It will probably be... Hello? Okay, it will probably either be on training, tarbiyah, ta'aleem, and tarbiyah, and what's the difference between the two. Or it'll probably be on the concept of money and wealth in Islam. Probably one of those two. I'll see within the next upcoming week what my topic will be. Now, one thing I have to discuss with you that is pertinent. I have a brunch, quote unquote, to get to on January 29th. January 29th is a Sunday, and my brunch starts at 11 a.m. That means on that Sunday, our weekly Quran class has to be rescheduled. Either I can do it later that afternoon around maybe 3 p.m. or maybe 4 p.m. or I can do it on Saturday. But I cannot do it on Sunday, the 29th. Let me know what time works for everybody. When do you want me to do it Saturday? Do you want me to do it Sunday? What Sunday later around 3, 4 p.m. What works? Anybody?
सही है, बिल्कुल ठीक है बेटा, समझ में आ गया.
Okay. So in that case, what I will do is I will probably do, if there is no objections, I will do the weekly Quran lecture that is supposed to happen on Sunday the 29th at around 3 p.m. instead of our regular 11 a.m. So
Saturday को या Friday night को बता देंगे इंशाल्लाह.
I'm sorry?
Friday night को बता देंगे ना 27th को कि भाई Friday Saturday को सब लोग available हैं कि नहीं ना.
ठीक है. No problem. ठीक है. Inshallah. Okay, everyone. Jazakallah khair for coming. If there is any questions, comments, or concerns, going on.
फैसल भाई मेरी बात सुन. मेरा एक सवाल है बेटा.
जी बोले खाला.
अच्छा, ये फ्रेंडशिप के हवाले से तुमने ये कहा, तो जैसे अब हमारे बच्चे ज्यादातर तो जहाँ पे रह रहे हैं, तो क्या हमें उनको किस तरह से, यानी वो जब फ्रेंड्स बनाएं तो मैक्सिमम लाइक 90% तो वो ऐसे ही नॉन मुस्लिम ही होते हैं, तो उनको यानी उनको फ्रेंड्स बनाने चाहिए, क्योंकि ये इस एज में है कि इन्हें गुड क्वालिटीज ये फ्रेंड्स की, यानी मेरे ख्याल से 16-17 में जाके तो शायद समझ में आ जाए, लेकिन जैसे छोटे बच्चे हैं तो वो फ्रेंड्स यानी बना सकते हैं कि उनको डिस्करेज किया जाए कि नहीं तुम इनके साथ उठो बैठो नहीं, या तुम जो है वो.
देखें, अगर मैं आपका सवाल समझ रहा हूँ वो ये है कि बच्चों से आप ये एक्सपेक्ट नहीं कर सकते कि वो इस तरह डिसर्न करें कि हु इज अ गुड फ्रेंड एंड अ बैड फ्रेंड। ठीक है, आप ईहान से ये एक्सपेक्ट नहीं कर सकते कि वो किसी बच्चे को देख के कहे वो तो बच्चा है, उसको एक बच्चा मिलेगा वो उससे खेलना शुरू कर देगा।
That's right, yeah.
राइट। देखें जैसे और ये तमाम पेरेंट्स के लिए है कि जैसे जैसे बच्चे बड़े होते रहते हैं वो स्लोली थोड़े बहुत इंडिपेंडेंट होते रहते हैं। जब वो छोटे होते हैं दे आर कंप्लीटली डिपेंडेंट ऑन यू। ठीक है, अगर आप उनको स्कूल लेके जाएंगे तो वो स्कूल जाएंगे, अगर आप उनको स्कूल नहीं लेके जाएंगे तो नहीं जाएंगे। अगर आप उनको किसी बच्चे के साथ एसोसिएट करवाते हैं, किसी पेरेंट के साथ एसोसिएट करवाते हैं तो वो उसके साथ खेलेंगे, अगर नहीं तो नहीं खेलेंगे। लेकिन जैसे जैसे वो बड़े होते जाएंगे वो थोड़ा बहुत इंडिपेंडेंट होते रहेंगे। ठीक है, आपकी रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी ये है कि अगर वो स्कूल में किसी ऐसे बच्चे के साथ एसोसिएट कर रहा है जिसके माँ बाप उसको सही तरबियत नहीं दे रहे हैं, और ये कोई साइंस नहीं है, आपको देखते ही पता लग जाता है कि ये बच्चा बदतमीज है कि इसकी तरबियत। और ये जरूरी नहीं है, ये बिल्कुल जरूरी नहीं है कि वो मुसलमान हो। कई मुसलमान बच्चों की तरबियत बहुत बुरी हुई हुई होती है।
That's right, yeah.
ठीक है, और कई गैर मुस्लिम बच्चों की तरबियत अच्छी हुई होती है, उनके अखलाक अच्छे होते हैं। ठीक है, जब आपके बच्चे छोटे हैं तो आपकी रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी है, अगर आप उसको किसी ऐसे बच्चे के साथ एसोसिएट करता देख रहे हैं, ठीक है, तो क्योंकि वो आप पे डिपेंडेंट है, अब आप उसको कह सकते हैं कि तुम इस बच्चे के साथ एसोसिएट नहीं करोगे। लेकिन जैसे जैसे वो बड़े होते जाएंगे आपका कंट्रोल उनके ऊपर आहिस्ता आहिस्ता कम होता जाएगा। उस वक्त आपकी कैपेसिटी एडवाइजरी तक रह जाएगी। ठीक है, आप उसको एडवाइज कर सकते हैं लेकिन आप उसको फोर्स नहीं कर सकते। आप 18 साल के लड़के को क्या करेंगे? माशाल्लाह बिलाल कितने साल का हो गया?
11 का हो गया बेटा।
11 का हो गया, 7 साल और रह गए हैं। ठीक है, 2 साल और रह गए, टीनेजर हो जाएगा। टीनेजर होते ही ये बहुत इंडिपेंडेंट हो जाएगा। इस वक्त आपके पास ये अपॉर्चुनिटी है कि आप उसको मना करें कि फलाने लड़के के साथ मत बैठो, फलाने बच्चे के साथ एसोसिएट मत करो। लेकिन जैसे जैसे ये बड़ा होता, क्योंकि इस वक्त वो आप पे डिपेंडेंट है, लेकिन जैसे जैसे बड़ा होता जाएगा, इंडिपेंडेंट होगा, खुद घर से बाहर जाएगा, खुद बस लेगा, खुद ये काम करेगा, खुद वो काम करेगा, तो उस वक्त उसको आपकी ये तरबियत काम आएगी।
That's right.
ठीक है, इस वक्त आप उसको ये एक्सपेक्ट नहीं कर सकते कि वो खुद डिसर्न करे। उसको इतनी अकल नहीं है कि अच्छा दोस्त है या बुरा दोस्त है। ये आपकी रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी, यू आर द पेरेंट। ठीक है, लेकिन जैसे जैसे बड़ा होगा आप उसकी तरबियत करते रहें, और आखिर में जब वो अडल्ट हो जाएगा तो उसके डीड्स ही इज रिस्पॉन्सिबल फॉर हिज डीड्स। अगर वो फिर बुरे दोस्त अपनाता है तो आपकी रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी है कि आप उसको एडवाइस करते रहें, लेकिन आगे हर इंसान को अपना जवाब खुद देना है।
ठीक है बेटा। सुन लो बिलाल। ठीक है बेटा, थैंक यू सो मच।
सुने देखें, ये अडल्ट्स के लिए भी है। मैंने इसी वजह से ये लेक्चर सिर्फ चिल्ड्रन के लिए रखा था, अडल्ट्स के लिए भी रखा था। अडल्ट्स ये समझते हैं कि हम बड़े हो गए तो हमने बड़ा तीर मार लिया है।
नहीं, बिल्कुल सही कह रहे हो। जो तुमने गुड फ्रेंड्स की क्वालिटीज और बैड फ्रेंड्स की कैरेक्टरिस्टिक्स बताया, उसमें मैं बिलाल के साथ यही कह रही थी कि नहीं बिलाल देखो मामा ये करती हैं, जैसे वाकई वो बैक बाइटिंग का तो होता है, वो फोन आता है कान के पास तो वो तो शुरू हो जाता है, जो कि एक बहुत बुरी बात है, जो कि हम रियलाइज करते हैं कि वाकई इस तरह से नहीं होना चाहिए।
और यही मुझे लगा कि मुझे ये खतरा था कि जब पेरेंट्स ये सुनेंगे तो कहेंगे ये तो बच्चों के लिए लेक्चर है। नहीं भाई, आप लोगों के लिए है।
That's right, yeah.
ठीक है,
ठीक है।
और जब तक हम ये कैरेक्टरिस्टिक्स अडॉप्ट नहीं करेंगे हमारी अपनी लाइफ नहीं बदलेगी।
ठीक है,
हम ये समझते हैं कि शायद ये सिर्फ बच्चों के लिए, बच्चे फ्रेंड्स, नो, हम जिन लोगों से एसोसिएट करते हैं वो इट्स अ नेट इम्पैक्ट ऑन अस। हमारा बहुत ज्यादा उसके ऊपर इफेक्ट होता है कि हम किस तरह के लोग हैं, हम किस तरह के लोगों से मिलते जुलते हैं, किस तरह के लोगों से दोस्तियां रखते हैं, उससे हमारे ऊपर बहुत ज्यादा फर्क पड़ता है।
ठीक है,
शायद बच्चों से कहीं ज्यादा फर्क पड़ता है।
ठीक है। और बच्चों को बस हमें ये रिमाइंड करवाते रहना चाहिए कि जो तुमने शुरू में बिल्कुल लेक्चर के कहा कि जो रोजे क़यामा का तुम्हें रिमाइंडर ना दे, जैसे जाहिर है जो नॉन मुस्लिम फ्रेंड्स होंगे वो तो नहीं करेंगे, तो इसका मतलब यही हुआ कि कोशिश करो कि तुम मुस्लिम फ्रेंड्स बनाओ। एम आई राइट? बिल्कुल।
सबसे पहला जो है वो आपको यही है कि आपके अल्टीमेट जो गोल है, जो आपके आखिरी गोल है, वो आपके दिमाग में होना चाहिए। ठीक है, कोई भी ऐसा फ्रेंड जो कि आपके आखिरी गोल को बार बार रिमाइंड नहीं कर रहा, is not going to be a good friend. चाहे उसके अखलाक अच्छे हैं, मैं ये नहीं कह रहा कि गैर मुस्लिम के अखलाक अच्छे नहीं हो सकते, बिल्कुल अच्छे हो सकते हैं, लेकिन अगर वो आपको आपकी आखिरत के फिक्र नहीं करवा रहा, ठीक है, तो इसका मतलब है कि वो आपको गफलत में डाले हुए हैं। कुछ भी कर लें, चाहे वो मुसलमान है चाहे गैर मुस्लिम है, अगर वो आपको आपकी आखिरत नहीं फिक्र, मसलन हम ये समझते हैं कि शायद गैर मुस्लिम ही आखिरत से गाफिल हैं, जी नहीं, मुसलमान भी आखिरत से गाफिल हैं।
गाफिल, सही बात है। अच्छा, तो गफलत में यानी आखिरत से, यानी वो हमें कैसे, क्योंकि फैसल बहुत सारे गैर मुस्लिम ऐसे भी हैं जो कि उनमें वही तेरा कह रहा है कि बहुत अच्छे अखलाक हैं, उनके मैनर्स बहुत अच्छे होते हैं, लेकिन सिर्फ इस एक बात से उनको हम अनफ्रेंड कर सकते हैं कि नहीं, उनको फ्रेंड रख सकते हैं।
देखें, फ्रेंडशिप जिसे कहना चाहिए, अब देखें, अब मामला आ गया एक दीनी उसूल का, तो उसका अब अगर आपने सवाल पूछ लिया तो उसका उसूल सुनना है, अल-वला वल-बरा, ठीक है, कि आपने किन लोगों से दूर भागना है, किन लोगों से आपने क्लोजली एसोसिएट रखना है, ठीक है, ठीक है। आप गैर मुस्लिमों से जिनके अच्छे कैरेक्टरिस्टिक्स हैं, आप सलाम दुआ रख सकते हैं, आप इर्द गिर्द हो सकते हैं, लेकिन आप उनके करीबी दोस्त नहीं हो सकते, ठीक है, ठीक है, जिन्हें कहते हैं क्लोज पर्सनल फ्रेंड्स। और ये कोई रॉकेट साइंस नहीं है, हम सब जानते हैं कि क्लोज पर्सनल फ्रेंड किसे कहते हैं, ठीक है, ठीक है, समझ गए। क्योंकि एक मैं आयत भूल रहा हूँ कि अल्लाह के नाम क्या, खाला मुझे याद कर रहे हैं, रजा खाला से कह रहा हूँ कि लेकिन आयत कुछ इस तरह से थी, अल्लाह माफ करे, कि मोमिन और मुस्लिम एक दूसरे के दोस्त होते हैं और एक गैर मुस्लिम और मुनाफिकों को दोस्त नहीं बनाते हैं, ठीक है। अच्छा, हमारे लिए ये जरूरी है कि जो हमारे क्लोजेस्ट पर्सनल फ्रेंड्स हैं, ठीक है, वो कम अज कम ऐसे हों जो हमें आखिरत की, अल्लाह की, अल्लाह के रसूल की, हमारे अपने पर्सनल कैरेक्टर डेवलपमेंट की, दीन की, नमाज की, रोजे की, ज़कात की तरगीब दें, ठीक है, ठीक है। लेकिन अगर हम मसलन स्कूल जाते हैं, ठीक है, और वहां पे कोई अच्छा गैर मुस्लिम है और हम उससे सलाम दुआ अलैक सलाक रखना चाहते हैं, रख लें, लेकिन हम उसके पास जिसे कहते हैं जो अगर आप माफ करें उर्दू में कहते हैं लंगोटिया यार, आप वो नहीं कर सकते, क्लोज पर्सनल फ्रेंड नहीं कर सकते, हर किसी नहीं कर सकते। आप एसोसिएट करें, बिस्मिल्लाह, अच्छे लोग हैं। और यही वजह है, इसी वजह से मैंने एक स्लाइड में, अभी इसी लेक्चर में मैंने एक स्लाइड में कहा कि एक फ्रेंड क्या है और क्या फ्रेंड नहीं है, क्लोज पर्सनल फ्रेंड, ठीक है। क्योंकि अगर मसलन अगर आप गैर मुस्लिम माशरे में रह रहे हैं, तो आप ये बताएं, आप गैर मुस्लिम माशरे को दावत कैसे देंगे अगर आप उनसे आपने कभी हाथ भी नहीं मिलाया, सलाम भी नहीं किया, कभी उनसे एक बात नहीं की, कभी लफ्ज ही नहीं बोला, बस उनसे नफरत रखी। That's right. ठीक है, तो आप कभी गैर मुस्लिम को दावत दे ही नहीं सकते, आपको कम से कम उससे बात तो करनी पड़ेगी, ठीक है। इसी तरह अल्लाह के रसूल ने जब दावत शुरू की, तो अगर आप अल्लाह के रसूल ये कहते कि मैं तो क्या नाम है गैर मुस्लिमों से कभी एसोसिएट ही नहीं करूंगा, बस मैं तो मुसलमानों से एसोसिएट, कभी दावत हो सकती थी? दावत हो ही नहीं सकती। आपको उन लोगों से मुलाकात करनी पड़ेगी, उनसे बात करनी पड़ेगी। लेकिन जो मैंने आपको डेफिनेशन क्या दी थी कि वो क्लोजेस्ट पर्सनल फ्रेंड्स, और वो लोग जिनको आप एडमायर करते हैं, जिनके आप जैसा होना चाहते हैं और जिनके कैरेक्टरिस्टिक्स अडॉप्ट करते हैं, वो लोग आपके पक्के सच्चे दोस्त हैं, उनको मुसलमान होना चाहिए। ओके, ठीक है बेटा, थैंक यू बेटा। नो प्रॉब्लम। If there's any other questions, comments, and concerns, talk them now. Otherwise, barakallah, jazakallah khair, everyone.
Thank you, beta.
We'll see you next time.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Is that Husna?
That was Husna.
Assalamu alaikum, Husna. How are you, baby?
She's not baby anymore, bhai. वो school जाती है.
Sorry.
You're gonna be.
ठीक है बेटा, शुक्रिया.
I still call Ayana a baby. He's 10 years old and is still my baby.
Oh my God. Husna नहीं है baby भाई, वो soon she gonna be SK, you know, senior kindergarten में आ जाएंगी वो.
Oh wow. Okay, sorry. Husna.
Soon.
Husna madam. Sorry, Husna madam.
Yeah. Okay, चलो बेटा. Thank you so much.
Okay, everybody. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Allah Hafiz.
Yeah, that was fun.